A new meeting between the presidents and new statements, in particular about how the Russian economy is collapsing, while Ukraine has a magnificent spirit, is only getting better and can reclaim all its territories. These are the words of Donald Trump from a post on the social network Truth Social, which was published after his meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky. The president of Ukraine says that there is a positive trend in their relationship with the American leader, and trust is growing. More details to follow from TSN's own correspondent in the United States, Olga Koshelenko.
The United Nations is 80, and although the anniversary General Assembly is taking place amid the intense wars in Ukraine and Gaza, which nearly all world leaders mention in their speeches, this is not a time for grand celebrations. The address by US President Donald Trump was a cold shower, both for the UN as an institution and for certain member states. It all began with a broken teleprompter, which prevented the American leader from delivering his speech while looking into the cameras. So Trump had to glance at his notes. The UN has given me nothing but a broken teleprompter and obstacles in resolving international conflicts, he complained, looking out from the podium at the packed hall. He also recalled that many years ago, when he was still just a New York developer, he was denied the contract to renovate this building. Although he would have done a better job with the renovation, Donald Trump assured the assembled world leaders. He then reproached the countries that recognize Palestine, calling it a reward for Hamas, and also called the fight against climate change a scam. Unexpectedly, Russia also came under fire. Instead of his longtime friend, Vladimir Putin appeared in the speech as a loser who is losing the war. Everyone thought that Russia would win this war in 3 days, but things didn't turn out as expected. It was supposed to be a quick clash, and this does not reflect well on Russia. It looks bad for them. It doesn't matter what was happening there, but it was supposed to last no more than a week. And now they've been fighting for 3.5 years, killing 5,000 to 7,000 young soldiers every week, mostly military personnel from both sides, and to a much lesser extent some civilians in cities where missiles and drones strike. President Trump also expressed his dissatisfaction to the leaders of European countries who continue to buy Russian energy resources. His latest idea is to force Europe to impose sanctions on China and India, the two largest buyers of oil from Putin.
China and India are the main sponsors of this war because they continue to buy Russian oil. There are no excuses for the fact that even NATO countries have not completely given up Russian energy resources, which I found out 2 weeks ago and was upset about. Just think about it. They are financing a war against themselves. Who has ever heard of such a thing? If Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, the United States is fully prepared to impose new, very powerful tariffs that will put an end to the bloodshed very quickly. But for these tariffs to be effective, European nations, you who are gathered here now, must join us and also implement corresponding measures.
Because the American leaders' address to the General Assembly lasted unexpectedly long, an hour, and the heads of other states did not dare to leave the hall in the middle of the speech, all subsequent plans were thrown into disarray. Journalists were allowed into the meeting between the presidents of the United States and Ukraine even without additional security checks. Starting off, Trump called Zelensky a brave man and said he admired Ukraine's struggle, then asked him to share information about the situation on the battlefield. The president of Ukraine replied that he had come with good news. In a month, 360 square kilometers of territory have been deoccupied, and 1,000 Russians have been surrounded. Zelensky supported Trump's idea to stop the sale of Russian energy resources and complained about Hungarian Prime Minister Orban, who wants to buy from Putin. Trump promised to intervene.
Mr. President, we support your idea, and I want to discuss how to stop European countries from being able to buy Russian oil and gas. I had a conversation with the Prime Minister of Slovakia, a good conversation. I think they need alternative routes, and they support this idea. I'm not sure if the Hungarians are ready, but we'll think about it in the future.
He's my friend. I haven't spoken to him yet, but I have a feeling that if I talk to him, he might stop. I think that's what I'll do.
Trump's combative mood did not end there. He went on to say that NATO countries can shoot down Russian planes in their own airspace, and the US will support them depending on the circumstances. Although Secretary of State Marco Rubio claimed the opposite the day before and also stated that the Russian economy is declining.
The biggest progress is that the Russian economy is in a terrible state, as you know. It is declining, and frankly, Ukraine is doing very well and holding back a very large army. That's extraordinary.
When the meeting between the presidents ended, a post appeared on Trump's Truth Social page, personally signed by the president. This usually indicates that he wrote it himself.
When the residents of Moscow and all the big cities, towns and regions across Russia find out what's really happening with this war, that they can hardly get any gasoline because of the long lines, and about all the other things going on in their wartime economy, where most of the money is being spent on fighting Ukraine, which has a magnificent spirit and is only getting stronger. Ukraine will be able to reclaim its country in its original form and who knows, maybe even go further.
At President Zelensky's briefing, the room is packed with journalists. We show him Trump's latest post. The president assures that now the leader of the United States trusts him more, that there has been an important change in their relationship, but he does not disclose any details.
This is my dialogue with President Trump, and I want it to remain between us.
Give us a hint.
Not yet, not the time.
Zelensky also said that they discussed specific air defense systems, not just the Patriots. Ukraine is also expecting sanctions against Russia, which the United States could impose even without Europe.
I told the president that we would very much like the United States. They themselves are capable of taking such strong steps for them to... Yes, we are moving forward in parallel with Europe, but we weren't expecting it because you know how Europe is. It helps us, but it's big and made up of many countries. And so sometimes on certain issues there isn't. There may not be unity. That's why you don't have to wait. We want America to take the lead.
And did President Trump confirm this?
Look, this is what we're talking about.
This was already the 5th meeting of the presidents this year, and the most optimistic in terms of mood. Although more than once, after positive messages in the mood of the American leader, there was a rollback to old positions. And this time, when asked whether he trusts Putin, Trump promised to answer in a month. From New York, United States, Olga Koshelenko, Maxim Shinkarenko, TSN 1+1.
So what do you think happened to Trump? Why did such a rollback in his statements occur? Will this be confirmed by his actions? What can Ukraine count on? Or is this just a political game? Write your thoughts in the comments under this episode, hit like, and in the meantime, we continue. Explosions and blackouts that are hard to hide. Drones flew into the Kursk region. Despite assurances from the Russian authorities that the drones were shot down during the attack, there are reports of massive power outages in Lviv. Almost the entire city was left without electricity. Explosions as a result of problems with electricity supply are also being reported in Russia's Rilsk. Due to the drone attack, an alert was declared in the Rostov region, and in the Krasnodar region, the airport's operations were halted. Overall, Russian officials claim that they allegedly shot down 70 drones. And now some very fresh cotton again in Bashkiria. Just a few days ago, drones struck an oil refinery there, one of the most powerful in Russia. The distance from the Ukrainian border to it is almost 1,500 kilometers. Right now, a column of black smoke is rising above the refinery, visible from dozens of kilometers away. So, should they shoot them down or not? The opinions of American politicians on what NATO countries should do about Russian aircraft have diverged dramatically. At a meeting with the President of Ukraine, the President of the United States stated that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace. When asked for clarification on whether he would support the allies in this, Donald Trump said that it would all depend on the circumstances. At the same time, the U.S. Secretary of State emphasized that Russian aircraft over alliance airspace would only be shot down if they attack. Marco Rubio assured that NATO would scramble its jets to intercept. And this, according to the chief diplomat of the United States, is exactly what the alliance will continue to do. At the same time, the Polish Prime Minister recently stated that his country is warning Russia that its aircraft will be shot down if they violate the airspace. Let me remind you that in recent weeks there have been several high-profile incidents involving Russian aircraft. These, in particular, intruded into Estonian territory and flew near a Polish oil platform. In general, Russians often violate the airspace of other countries. Russian collaborator Fico. In 24 cities across Slovakia, there was a massive anti-government protest. Several thousand people took part in the event in the capital. The main grievance of the protesters against the current prime minister of the country, Robert Fico, is his cooperation with Russia, as well as failures in economic management and tax increases. In the crowd, people held signs that read "Fico is Moscow's Trojan horse." People were outraged by his meetings with Vladimir Putin in China, the third such meeting since the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. There were also many representatives of the Slovak opposition at the protest. The leader of the largest opposition party, Progressive Slovakia, Michal Šimečka, stated that Fico has long since lost touch with the people.